Oh, there we are. Hi. Good morning. I'm Cindy Dallow. I'm not sure if you could hear that before or not, but this is my first live that I'm going to be doing with you all every Friday at 10 o'clock Mountain Time, 10 a.m. So thank you for joining if you're here. And if you are here, could you please comment below? It just helps me to know if if you're watching live. If you're watching the replay, if you could comment below and also just say I'm watching the replay. If you have questions, please feel free to comment below as well. So welcome to my first weekly live. The reason I'm doing these is because I, as a dietitian and someone who's been working in the field of nutrition and fitness for 30 some years now, I know there's a lot of questions out there that people have about nutrition, and there's a lot of topics that I'm really interested in talking about, some that I'm very passionate about, and I'd love to just share them with you. So it's an opportunity for you to ask questions, to listen and learn about new topics related to nutrition and fitness. So today we're going to start off with an interview with a friend of mine who's a dietitian in Fort Collins. Her name is Ann Kent, and I'm going to bring her in here right now. Welcome to the broadcast, Ann.
Hello, thank you so much for inviting me. I'm excited to be here for your very first interview.
Thank you. I'm excited to have you. So to all of you who are listening, again, if you are listening to this, if you're watching this live, if you could just comment below, I'd really appreciate it. Or if you watch the broadcast later on, just comment that you're watching the broadcast. So I asked Ann to be a part of the show because I know a lot of you have said that you have questions about meal planning. And I know even for myself, I'm a dietitian, and you would think dietitians have it all together when it comes to food and eating, but not so much sometimes. But so I've actually gotten better at meal planning over the years, but I can always learn something new from somebody else. And Ann, in my opinion, is a whiz at meal planning, and she's also an amazing cook from what I've seen on her videos. She has a number of really good cooking videos that I have watched. One that my husband Kurt watched and just loved. It was on making pizza crust, and he's still using her method and recipe for a pizza crust, and it turned out great. It really was very, very good. So you'll have to check out her videos. And she has a meal planning system with these really cool meal guides that she's going to tell you about. So I'm going to just hand it over to you, Ann, and if you can tell us a little bit about yourself and your meal planning system, that'd be wonderful.
Sure. Thank you so much. Yes, and I totally agree with what you said about meal planning. I think it's one of those things that I think the hardest thing that I find is that people want to plan perfectly, but the problem is that life happens. And I'm sure you see this a lot too, where, oftentimes I've had one-on-one clients who are asking me for a meal plan, but what I think you and I both know is that we can't actually plan for someone else because someone else's schedule is different, someone else's family is different. And yeah, we could sit down and spend a couple of hours and create a personalized meal plan. But then if your work meeting happens to run later than you expected, your plan might be thrown off by Tuesday. And so part of meal planning is, I think, being able to kind of roll with the punches and have some backup plans and figure out what to do in a pinch. So like you said, that's the problem that I'm working to solve in my private practice, which is Peas and Hoppiness. So instead of seeing a lot of one-on-one clients, I have a monthly membership where my members have access to another private Facebook community, but most importantly, they have access to a member site where every week I publish a new menu that includes different cooked meal ideas, different grab-and-go meals, breakfast, and snacks. And I call these, like you mentioned, I call them meal guides because I teach my members how to actually use that guide and turn it into a personalized meal plan. So that's what I'd like to share with your members today in the group is so I have like a 3-step plan or 3-step process to meal planning. So I would love to share that.
Yes, please do.
Would you like me to go ahead and share my screen
Yes,
and
please. Yes,
show
go
people
ahead.
what we're looking at?
Sure.
Great. Okay. So I will share. All right. So I think Cindy can add this. So what we're going to look at is I'm going to show you what the menu is for this week in particular. Maybe I can share. Okay.
Oh, here we go. There we go.
Yeah, here we go. So this is the meal guide for this week. And a couple things, I'll zoom in so everybody can see. But I plan these menus around seasonal produce. And the reason for that is because seasonal produce is going to be the least expensive because it's the most abundant. It's going to be the most nutritious because you can pick it closer to the peak of ripeness and it doesn't have to be shipped as far. And which also means that it has the best taste quality. So a lot of my members are signing up for this because they want to incorporate more vegetables. And one of the things that I found, one of the reasons I found people think that they don't like vegetables is because they haven't had a fresh one or one that's in season. So those are some of the reasons why I plan seasonally. So this week you can see that I plan in 4 different types. And this is what I always recommend is to have different sort of types of recipes in your repertoire. So every week we have, I call it a challenge meal. And then we have a slow cooker meal. I have a vegetarian meal. Yesterday was Earth Day, so we're just encouraging, exploring new proteins and eating a little lower on the food chain. And then everybody's favorite, of course, is a 30-minute meal, which I include every week. And the reason I have these 4 different types is because as you're meal planning and thinking through what activities you have going on during the week, you might want to choose different types of meals for different days. So if you're planning like a date night in with your spouse and you both want to be in the kitchen and maybe learn a new recipe, that's what like that challenge meal could be for. But maybe if you are running around, we're in baseball season now, so we need things ready immediately when we get home. So a slow cooker meal can be a really good option if you're going to be gone and then need something right away when you get home. The 30-minute meal, of course, is just if you need to throw something together. I like to give this one to my husband a lot of times. He is a great recipe follower, but he is a nervous cook. So I've written the recipes so that beginner cooks, all levels of cooks can follow these recipes. So it's really nice if I'm busy, I can just give him the easy one and he can throw it together. Of course, it's also good for those busy evenings when you just need something quick. So that's sort of how I've planned this. And then at the bottom, you can see I have some extra meals. The grab and go meals are also sort of like 30-minute or less meals. And I'm sure you talk about this with your clients. Some of these are helping people to think outside the box a little bit because so often I think we get caught in the, I need to have a protein and a starch and a vegetable and it has to be cooked and it has to like have a side dish and it has to have gravy or like whatever rules you kind of grew up with, we internalize those. So I am kind of re-envisioning this and just helping my members think through what you could put on a healthy plate. And I use the USDA healthy plate guide. And so you can see that these are divided into protein and carb and a fruit or vegetable. So like, for example, we actually had cookies on the meal guides for the lunch option because these cookies are like packed with nutrition. They have like bananas for the sweetener and like oats, and they're basically like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, except in cookie form.
Yum.
So a lot of these ideas are just, to get you out of those food ruts. A lot of us have like these things that we eat every single day. And for some people, they like that and they like the repetition. But I've met a lot of people that are only doing that because they don't know what else to do.
Mm-hmm.
So,
right.
So helping, like starting to think in that model can then, if someone else is working with another dietitian, they can really easily learn to substitute different ideas, and it helps you learn how to build a healthy meal on your own.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I have that for breakfast and then for the snack as well. And you can see that, I have some traditionally quote unquote healthy things like these cucumber bites. And then I also have the mini candy bars because part of, the vision with this is teaching you, I know that you work from an intuitive eating perspective, and
Yeah.
that's how these meal guides are. They're designed to give you the nutritional tools, or like the really practical, like how should I fix this
Mhm.
vegetable to make it taste delicious? But then you can really use those skills of intuitive eating to pick and choose what you love and to incorporate all sorts of different foods.
Yes. I just love how you have the different types of meals, the challenge meal, which I think is great because it kind of pushes us all out of our comfort zone to try something new. And then, slow cooker, who doesn't like a slow cooker meal, because those are usually the quickest and easiest.
Yeah.
And, the other option is a 30-minute option. That's probably something we all could use. So, and the vegetarian, I think it's great. And, you don't have to be a vegetarian to have a meatless meal once a week.
Right.
In fact, that's how I am. I do enjoy different types of meat, but I don't eat it that often. And I have many meatless meals as well. So, but you can go either way. You can be
Right.
vegetarian or enjoy meat with your weekly
Mhm.
meals. And the cool thing about Anne's meal guides is that she actually has two options when you join the membership. You
Mhm.
can choose the vegetarian option, or the other one is where it's just healthy meals and they may have some types of meat in them. But
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. Yes, so here is this week's vegetarian version. So you can see that they're pretty similar. They have like the same flavors in each of the meals, but they're using a plant-based protein or using some sort of plant instead. So
yes,
you'll see that I love using mushrooms for their umami flavor. I've definitely learned a lot about vegetarian cooking. And one thing that I think is important to know is that you can't just switch out a meat for a plant-based product because it won't taste the same. Meat
right.
has some inherent umami flavor that we're
Yeah.
missing if we just substitute. So I am a meat eater myself. We do eat meat in our household. And I found that it's, someone who has been vegan for 20 years has a wildly different palate than someone who is used to eating meat.
Yes.
So these are sort of like for the veg curious. These meals are definitely for the person who has eaten meat in the, recent past and is maybe trying to explore some different options. So it's
Yeah.
a really good tool to just help introduce you. And part of the reason too that I include a vegetarian meal on this meal guide is, like you were saying, there's this movement towards sort of a flexitarian lifestyle, which
Yes.
is a primarily vegetarian diet, but it does occasionally include animal proteins.
Yes.
And so more and more, I'm finding a lot of my members are in your age population group who's in the group. There may be parents, or their kids are coming home, and all of a sudden their kids are like, "Oh, I'm vegetarian now," and they're like,
Right.
"Well, I have no idea what to feed you." So
Right.
this is kind of a way to give you an option of something that's going to taste good to your meat eaters. So there's
Yes.
not tofu in all of these recipes because that's scary for a lot of people.
Yes. And I have posted several articles in this group about the Mediterranean diet, or the
Mhm.
Mediterranean way of eating, which when you look at it really it's a uh, what's called a plant-based way of eating. It's not totally
Mhm.
meat-free, but there are several days where there may not be meat, or just small amounts of meat. So a lot of Anne's recipes would be perfect for following the Mediterranean diet, I think, from what I've seen. So
Absolutely. And in the
yeah,
member site, my members actually have access to both of the meal types. So if one week you do need to cook more vegetarian, you've got options there, and you don't have to be scouring the internet and wondering if what
mhm.
you are choosing is going to be good.
Yes, exactly. Yes. And I want to mention to the members too that Anne does individual counseling online as well. So, and as I do, but Anne is available for individual consulting as well as her membership program. She's got a lot to offer, and I think she's amazing. So,
Oh, that's really kind of you. Thanks, Cindy.
she also
I
has a
could
really
say the
great
same
blog.
about you.
What's
I'm
that?
sorry.
I was going to say she has a really great blog with a lot of her recipes on her website, which is peasandhoppiness.com. And I think it's in one of the announcements, but I'll post it later as well. But she has some great articles in her blog on her website, so you'll have to check that out as well.
Yeah, well, thank you. Would you like to get into a little bit of actual meal planning and kind of walk through that process?
Yes, let's see that for sure.
Great. Yeah, so as part of the meal guide, the second page in this packet is a grocery list. So if someone is planning to use all the meals on this, then you've got a head start on your grocery list for the week. But the third page here is
yes, that's right.
is a blank meal planning template. And this is probably the most important piece of this. I did include a link to a free download just of this template. So if you're just wanting to get started with this and, try this out, then I would really recommend that you have this format. And the reason why I think this is a little bit unique is because of this space here where I encourage you to write down events. Mm-hmm. So the first step in this meal planning template is to write down what events you have going on during the week. And this is going to help you plan for what types of meals you need, like we were talking about, and how often you need to cook. So for example, if I were filling this out based on my schedule this week, on Sunday, my parents are in town. They're actually in town Sunday and Monday. So I'm just going to write that down. On Tuesday, we have a baseball game. Like I said, it's baseball season. Wednesday night, I actually have a virtual girls' night.
Cool.
And Thursday is family dinner. Oops. So Friday and Saturday, we don't have anything going on. So I know that oftentimes if I have a busy week like this, we're going to plan date night for either Friday or Saturday just to do something. So I'll just put that on the calendar for Saturday, just to get that on the calendar. And why I like to include these things is so that you can intentionally plan in your fun nights if you are going out to eat or you want to order pizza, things like that. I am definitely not opposed to eating out. The thing that I think we get in trouble with is that when eating out is our only backup option. And so when things are busy, instead of having an option of like what you can already make and that you would have the ingredients on hand, now you're ordering takeout. And we all know how expensive that gets. And we all know how we don't feel great after we've eaten takeout multiple nights in a row. So I encourage people to think through when they want to eat out and enjoy their favorite restaurants and make that a part of your plan.
Yes, definitely. So one question about this meal plan template, I noticed that you just typed right in. So if people sign up for your membership, are they able to fill that out on their computer?
So I just have like an Adobe. If they have Adobe, they can.
Okay.
I find it easier, honestly, if I weren't doing this on the computer, I would print this out and actually write it down. The other reason I encourage that is because then everybody knows what's on the menu and you don't have to answer that question, what's for dinner, over again. I don't know why my 12-year-old can't remember what I tell him, but I swear I answer that question the same like 5 times a day.
Really?
So it's really nice to be able to say, hey, like, go look at the fridge. We already have a plan, and it's like it's right there. So
that makes so much sense just to print it out and then put it up in the kitchen so everybody knows what's going on. Yeah.
It definitely helps with communication. And one of the things one of my members was talking to me about was they're like, oh my gosh, we argue so much less about what's for dinner now because we only have to think about this once and then we have it planned all week long. Like we're not, they were actually going out to eat a lot before using the meal plan, and it wasn't fun for them. They didn't like going out to eat anymore because it was so often.
Yeah. I know for myself, I love to go out to eat when it's, the time to go out to eat, but I don't like going if the reason is because I don't know what to make for dinner. Then I just don't enjoy it as much,
Right.
Yeah.
So once you have those events on the calendar, you'll see the next part here is the number of eaters. So
Mhm.
this is really important to think through how much you need to cook and how often you need to cook. So for
Awesome.
example, if my parents are in town, there's going to be 5 of us. We have the added complication that my 12-year-old goes between our house and his mom's house. And so Monday night, we only have 4 people.
Okay.
Tuesday night, we're not going to be home, but I do have 4 people to feed. Wednesday night, we have 3 people. Thursday night, we have 4 people. Friday night, we're back to 2 people. And Saturday night, we're back to 2 people.
Boy.
So if someone else's life is less complicated than mine, then maybe you don't have to fill out this part. But especially if you do have company coming into town, or maybe your kids have a sleepover planned, or like just different things going on, I find it really helpful to just put it on paper how many people, because you can see that Sunday is going to be way different than next weekend in terms of how many leftovers I need.
Exactly. And that's the other nice thing about your meal guides, I think, is that you have 4 meals planned for the week, not 7. Because
Right.
if you try, and this is what I have found in my own experience, if I try to plan out 7 meals, 7 dinners each week, it's overwhelming. Plus, obviously, you can't really plan for leftovers. I mean, you can't have leftovers for lunch the next day, but I think it's better to plan out 3 or 4 meals a week. And then on those other days, you eat the leftovers, or there's always that day where things are crazy and you end up making a sandwich or something. But and that's okay, actually. That's totally fine. But I think it's less overwhelming if you choose to do 3 or 4 meals a week, to plan those meals instead of planning 7 meals a week.
I totally agree. And I think that that's one of the big kind of myths about meal planning, is that it's this really onerous thing, and
Yes.
it's going to take over, like it's going to take so much time.
Yes.
But the reality is that whether or not you sit down once a week, you have to meal plan. If
Yes.
you are responsible for feeding other people in your household, I guarantee that you are spending mental energy on what you're going to eat, and if you have the ingredients, and if you're going to cook, or if you're going to order out, and how long it's going to take to get there, and like when are they going to come, and like what's our budget. Like you have to answer those questions. So it's a matter of, are you going to be intentional about that, or are you going to do it on the fly?
Exactly.
And in my experience, one of those answers is much less stressful and much more successful than the other one.
I totally agree. And the other nice thing about planning ahead is you're less likely to over snack. I mean, it's good to have a snack, but I think you're less likely to, snack too much and or overeat, or just not feel good about your eating. And I know for me, if I plan things out, then I know what I'm going to have. And if I know I'm going to have Mexican for dinner, then I won't have Mexican for lunch. If I know I'm going to have pizza for dinner, then I'm not going to have it for lunch, kind of thing. So I don't know, it just makes my life so much easier to have the meals planned out ahead of time.
I think that's a great point. It really reduces decision fatigue,
Yes.
which is what you're talking about. And I think one of the hardest things about, I'm sure you've experienced this with your clients too, in behavior change, is that healthy eating or exercise, or like whatever goal they're trying to pursue, that's not the only thing going on in life. They still are working, they're still raising a family, like they're still trying to have a social life and sleep 8 hours a night and all the other things. So having this already planned out, I think really reduces your stress in a way that you won't even realize until you do it.
Exactly. That's what I think as well. So, well, this has just been awesome. Thank you so much, Anne, for coming on here and sharing the tools that you use, the template, which is all of you can download from the link that was provided in the announcement, but I'll provide it again after this. And if you guys have questions, Anne is going to stay around. She's actually in our group, and so she's going to be around this weekend or next week. So if you have questions for Anne, feel free to post them in our group, and I know she'd be happy to answer them.
Absolutely.
And she's also offered a 2-week free trial of her membership, which if I were you, I would really take advantage of, and that way you get to see what it's like. And so give it a try. If you guys have questions, again, post them here. And I will be seeing you guys. Well, I'll be seeing you in the group, throughout the week, but I will have another live session next Friday at 10 a.m., Food and Fitness Friday. And I will just see you then. So hope you all have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you so much for having me, Cindy. This is so fun.
Thank you. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.